So let's talk about the bibliographies that are due soon. The first thing I want to draw your attention to is if I cannot verify where your information comes from, in a real sense, your information is worthless. Research has to be verifiable to be valid. And so if I can't verify your sources, your grade is going to take a huge hit with this project. So let's dig in while I discuss 3 of the most common formats of citing sources you will use for this project. Okay, so first things first. Whenever you write in English class, you're required to use what's called MLA style, Modern Language Association style. And its requirements for writing research papers in particular have gotten easier in the last few years. That's the good news. The bad news is they're still pretty hard, but they have gotten easier. So if you wanted to Google an MLA practice template, you can print out basically a worksheet that tells you all the required information you would need source by source. What's kind of nice about this template is it also provides the end punctuation for each source, or each element of the source, whether you need a period or a comma. I can guarantee that you won't find a single source that contains all this information. So whenever you come to an absence of information, you just skip down to the next step. So let me show you how it works. Obviously, you will be citing sources from the 24th and Glory series. So let's go through the format for that. And what's nice about that is this is the same format you will use for any source available on the World Wide Web. So I randomly picked just part 1, the first article after the prologue from the 24th and Glory series. Let's say I've got information in that article I want to cite. Well, what I can do then is start going through the information available to me and plug it all into this MLA template in the order that MLA requires. So one thing that's nice right off the bat is that if this is a regular web source, I don't have to use any of this bottom stuff. That's all for database sources. So that's great. But then I start looking for, okay, author name. I ask for the author name. There's my author. The title of the source. The headline is the title of the source. The title of the container. For that, I could put omaha.com or the Omaha World Herald. Either of those listings will help me find this research later. And you go on and on. So in the end, here's what you've got. So here's what I've ended up with. I've put this in proper format with a hanging indent, but I've just put this information in the order that MLA style requested it. I had the author name, I had the article name, and I went with the long version of the title. I had the container name, the publication name. I elected to give extra information that it was part of the 24th and Glory series. It's noteworthy that the Omaha World Herald's publisher is BH Media Group, Berkshire Hathaway Media Group. And then I gave the date that it was published. When you're giving dates things are published, keep that date format consistent. So I used regular MLA format, day, month, year. Just make sure you're doing that consistently from source to source. It just looks more uniform and looks like you know what you're doing. And then I provided the URL because anybody with a web address could plug that in and find this source. Okay, so we've covered web sources, the 24th and Glory articles, and any other web source. Now you're also required to use database sources, whether from our own library or the Omaha Public Library or a combination. Those citations are just a little bit more involved because you will have the regular citation material that we just went through, plus this extra information that involves the database, what the name of the database is and where you accessed it through the Omaha Public Library or through Creighton Prep's library. So, you would continue to find your author name, your publication name, and then this extra information. So let's see how this works. So here we've got a lot of the same information. We've got our author name, article name, source name, publication name, date, and then I've given the database name. And for the location, instead of giving a URL, instead of giving a web address, I've given the name of the location of the database. The reason I don't give a URL for this is because you can't just plug in a web address and get into this database. You have to have the passwords, you have to have the access to the database. So that's why the URL doesn't work here. There's no point in giving it because it's not usable. Give the location of that database, which I was able to access through the Omaha Public Library online resources. All right, another common citation that I think many of us will have is information we got from Mr. Chatlin's presentation when he came and spoke to all of us. So what I have for that is, I just did a deep dive in the MLA style book. You need to give Mr. Chatlin's name first, last name first. He didn't have a specific name for his presentation, so I didn't put it in quotation marks, but I just said 24th and Glory presentation, the date of his presentation, and then you give the location. It was at Creighton Prep in Omaha, Nebraska. And that's a complete citation for information you cite from Mr. Chatlin's presentation. So we're all probably going to be citing information from the presentation, from databases from our own library or from the Omaha Public Library, as well as information from the 24th and Glory series and other sources found on the regular World Wide Web. So hopefully that'll help with that. One last thing. Every year students will ask me, is it okay if I use easybib.com or some other citation generator to make my bibliography and works cited page? My answer for that is maybe. Not no, but a cautious maybe. So here's the deal. Easybib.com can only be as effective as you let it be. So a really bad use of easybib.com would be to just copy and paste a web address and let the citation just come out. That's always inaccurate, and I can spot a copy and paste job a mile away. What's better is if you work through easybib.com using MLA 8 style and you plug in elements of each source. So that means the author name when you have it, the source name, the publication name, and so on. The more information you can give EasyBib or another generator, the better its citation will be and the better the formatting will be. So go ahead and give it a try. I won't say no, but I will say work carefully with it if you decide to use it. Okay guys, I think that's all I've got for you. Good luck with this project. I look forward to seeing your dislikes on YouTube. Thanks.